Good morning, y'all. Welcome to another video on Luderco Arms channel. So today we're going to basically do, I don't know if you want to call it a class or what have you, but if you're going off to college and you're not a car person and you've never really had to take care of your car on your own, this is kind of what we're going to go over, some basics and stuff to help you keep your car going while you're off at college, because mom and dad won't be just a phone call away if you're in the next state over or 2 hours up the road. So we got a good thing today. We're going to have an assistant with the camera, my daughter Katie, and she needs this class, so there we go. So I'm going to hand this to her, and she's going to film and also pay attention. So for the most part, kids nowadays, unless you're a car person, which growing up, you know, we didn't have, people my age, we didn't have internet and gaming. We had like Atari, so we spent a lot more time playing with our cars and stuff like that. Kids nowadays don't, and now all of a sudden you're fixing to go away to college and you need to be able to keep your car running, because you're not going to be able to call mom and dad, my car's broke down. You're going to need to be able to do at least the bare minimums to keep yourself safe and keep your car running. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the things that you can do with no tools, just daily things you can do, just takes nothing to do, that will help you keep track of what's going on with your car. And the biggest thing is paying attention. If your car starts making a funny noise, don't ignore it. You need to figure out what's going on before it gets worse. You need to familiarize yourself with your car. Probably a lot of y'all have never looked under the hood of your car. We're going to do that. You need to at least know some basic stuff, so that if your car breaks down and you call your dad and say, hey, my car's broke down, and he says, well, is the fan belt on there? You need to know at least where to look to see if there's a fan belt on it. Things like that. Second part, we're going to go over changing a tire if you have a flat, where your stuff is, how to find it. And the third part we're going to go over is jumper cables if you have a dead battery, and how to use jumper cables or a jump box and everything that goes along with that. So this shouldn't take long, because this is just very basic. If you're not a car person, I mean, now I'm not really expecting you to know everything, but you need to know the basics. So the first thing is, anything I'm going to tell you is inside the owner's manual for your car. Now I know a lot of you kids aren't familiar, but this is a book. Now you can look this book up on your phone or your computer and find the information, but in almost every car ever manufactured, there's one of these books in the glove box. Now if your car's missing the book, then you use your phone, look it up. But this book has sections in it on all of the functions of your car, and it also has a section towards the back that tells you maintenance and care. And so if anything I'm telling you today, if you have a different car, for instance, and you don't know where to check your oil and stuff, it's in this book. It's in the book. And for instance, if you want to know where to check your oil, you can go on this Toyota book to the maintenance section, and it's got everything listed, and it'll tell you how to open the hood, where to put a floor jack, Shows you your engine compartment, where things are in your engine compartment, tire inflation, everything you need to know to keep your car running. As far as what you need to do. Now, this book is not a shop manual. It's not going to tell you how to replace your brake shoes or anything like that. And I don't expect somebody who's never worked on a car before to automatically, jump in and replace their brake shoes. But there's all kinds of stuff in this book. I highly suggest that you take some time and familiarize yourself with the book. But let me get my glasses, because I cannot read this like this. There they are. You can look in here, and let's say you want to check your oil. Go right here, and they have a section called engine oil. And they also have this picture that shows you where everything under your hood is. So if you call and say the engine oil light came on, and your dad asks you, did you check the oil to see if there's any in it, that it tells you how to do it right here. Shows you where the dipstick is, shows you what the readings ought to be, everything. So we're going to pop the hood. So a couple of things. When I pop the hood, there's two latches on the hood. There's the latch inside the car. Most of y'all know where that's at. And then there's also this, which you have to move to get the hood to come up. And then you have a prop rod to hold the hood up. Unless your car may have gas cylinders that hold the hood up, but this car has a prop rod. So now we're looking at the engine compartment. And if you've never looked at the engine compartment, this is what it looks like. This is where you're going to find your battery in most cars. You're going to have your dipstick right here for your engine oil. This yellow, it pulls up out of there. This is where you put the oil. This is where you put windshield washer fluid. So now it's important when you go, especially if you drive a newer car like this, you're going to get little messages on there that'll say like your windshield washer fluid is low. And if you're 2 miles up or 2 hours up the road, you're going to have to put it in there yourself. So you're going to have to go to the store and buy some windshield washer fluid and put it in. So it's important that you understand where it goes, because if you put it in the wrong place, for instance, if you try to pour it where the engine oil goes, you're going to cause problems. And I'm not trying to be condescending, but if you don't know, you don't know. And you can go on YouTube and see 150,000 videos of people putting the wrong fluid in the wrong place and destroying their car. So again, you can go to your book and it will tell you where to put it. And if you're not sure, just get your phone out, call your dad on a video call and say, where should I put this stuff? You can also look, see this little symbol right here? It's a pretty standard symbol. It may look a little bit different on different cars, but you can see it's a windshield with washer fluid going on it. That's there, so you know this is where your windshield washer fluid goes. Over here you got the oil cap, and then on this Toyota it actually says right on it engine oil. Engine oil. And it tells you what kind of oil, SAE 0W20. These are all important things, so get the right oil and then you can put it in there. So if you're going to check your oil, you're going to need a rag. Engine off. When you check engine oil, the engine is off. Pull your dipstick out. Take your rag. Wipe the dipstick off. Get all the oil off of it. Put the dipstick back in. And then pull it out. And that's when you read it. And you'll see on this Toyota, you got a little mark there and a little mark there, and if you looked in the book, the engine oil level should be between those two marks, and it is. So if we look at this wiped off, you can see the two marks, one there and one there. This is the full, and that is add. If it's between those two dots, you do not need to add any. It doesn't have to be all the way to full. It's just got to be above the add line. If you're down to the add line or below, on most cars, and you'll have to check your book, but on 99.9% of cars, if you're all the way down to the add line, between the add and the full line is 1 quart of oil. So if you're at the add line or below, you can put 1 quart of oil in your engine and then recheck it. So that's checking your engine oil. Now, you don't have to do that every day, but you should do it every once in a while. I generally do it when I get gas, but again, I'm not expecting y'all to do it every time you get gas. But if you have an engine light come on, that should be the first thing you check, is to make sure your engine has oil. If you run the engine out of oil, you will blow it up, and then you'll be riding a bicycle. Nobody wants to ride a bicycle, apparently. All right, so other things under the hood, you've got all kind of hoses in here, you've got fan belts, you've got everything you can think of is under here. And for the most part, you don't need to know what all this stuff is. But what you should do is, before you go off to college by yourself, is to just look around under here and familiarize yourself with what it looks like. And the reason why is because once you know what it's supposed to look like, then if there's something wrong, you may not know what it is, but you know something's not right. That's the most important thing, is knowing something's not right. I'm not expecting anybody to know what it is or what they need to do, but you do need to be able to look under here and say, oh, something is not right. This doesn't look the same as it normally does. Nothing under here is going to change. So if there is a big change, there's a problem. On this particular car, you have to look down in that crack to see your fan belt. And it goes around all those pulleys down there. And again, the biggest thing with that is being able to see that there's a fan belt on it. So if your car stops charging, the first thing somebody's gonna ask you is the fan belt on? Because that's what turns the alternator. And you're gonna help out whoever's coming to your rescue a whole lot if you can look down there and say, yes, there's a fan belt, or no, there's no fan belt. Because the biggest thing is, again, we're not expecting you to fix and repair your car. That'd be nice, but you know, if you're not a car person, you're probably not going to be doing that. But what is nice is if I've got to drive, or your dad or your mom or whoever is doing this for you has to drive several hours or several states, or has to arrange for a tow truck to tow your car to a repair facility, it's good if you can give them an idea of what's wrong. For instance, if your fan belt is off, at least then I know I'm on the way. I'm going to go to the parts store and buy a fan belt and a fan belt tensioner, because I know already I'm going to need those parts. So it'll just help out the person that's coming to your rescue. And But the biggest thing is know where to check your oil, know how to check your oil, which we just went through, know where to put your windshield washer fluid. And again, it's better to know ahead of time than be trying to figure out where to put it and you don't know. So you also have your radiator cap right here. Now, here's the thing about radiators. Don't open it if it's hot. It's under pressure. It will come spraying out, burn the shit out of you. It's not, you don't want to mess with that. So on this car, you have an overflow tank, which is right here. That's where you would add antifreeze to it if it was low. Now this car is not low, so we don't really have to worry about that. But that's basic under the hood. That's, I mean, you don't really need to know much more than that. But just the basics. You do need to know how to check your oil, because cars use oil, some cars, and you know, it needs to be kept up. So the next thing, and this is something that's simple, you can do every single day. When you pull into a parking spot and you're looking out your windshield, and here's your lines, and if it's like most colleges, you have an assigned parking spot. So you're going to be parking in the same spot most of the time. I'm assuming, do you have an assigned parking spot, or is it just a garage?
I think it's assigned.
Okay. When you pull into your parking spot, look at the parking spot. It's concrete or asphalt. There should be nothing on it. Very important. See what's there. If there are old stains and everything, burn that into your mind. Know what this parking spot looks like. And then when you go to drive your car and you back out of your parking spot, look at the parking spot. See if there's oil on the ground. See if there's a puddle there. Because just doing that, if you didn't have anything there before and now you do, you know something's leaking out of my car. And all it takes is just a few minutes of paying attention. And it will save you a ton of heartache. And you can look at what's on the ground and to a certain extent be able to get an idea. Now if it's clear water, that's your air conditioner. That's nothing to get excited about. As your air conditioner runs, it makes condensed water. If you go look at any air conditioner, including on your house, you'll see it's got a pipe coming out of the side of it that water drips out of. And your car does the same thing. So if it's in the middle of summer and your air conditioner is running, or even in the wintertime, because if you have your defroster on, it runs the air conditioner to dry the air. So you'll have a puddle of water. Clear water is nothing to worry about. But oil and antifreeze are things to worry about. So familiarize yourself with your car and know what color your antifreeze is. Antifreeze, most people think is green, and for the most part it is. But some antifreeze is not green. For instance, if you have a General Motors vehicle, you may have orange antifreeze, and it will look like that colored. That's antifreeze. It's not green, but it is antifreeze. If you have a Toyota or a lot of other foreign cars, you may have the hot pink antifreeze. And I know I have some in the other shed, but it doesn't look like I have any in here. But it is literally, it's hot pink. And there are some that are blue. So again, familiarize yourself with your antifreeze. And also, for instance, this and this are the same color, right? But this is windshield washer fluid. It looks the same, but not really. It's lighter and it's more like water, and less. Antifreeze has it's a little bit more viscous than water. The point is, familiarize yourself with your car, and then every time you park, and it doesn't have to be your parking space. I do it everywhere I go. When I go to work, when I pull into the parking spot, I look, make sure there's no big puddles, and then when I come back out of work 12 hours later to go home, as I'm walking up, now my vehicles are all trucks, so they're higher off the ground and I can see under them as I'm walking up to them. I'm looking, is there a puddle under my truck? Because there's all kinds of fluids in here. You've got transmission fluid, power steering fluid, engine oil, brake fluid, antifreeze, windshield washer fluid. All of these are different. So if you kind of know what they look like, then it'll help you figure out what's on the ground and why is it there. If you've got a big puddle of oil, you need to figure out what's going on. Where is the oil coming from? Because it's not magically appearing there. And if you keep driving and you're leaking oil, sooner or later your oil is going to run out, and so is your engine, and then you're going to be on a bicycle or walking, and nobody wants that. So pay attention when you pull into parking spots, what's there, and then when you pull off, what's there. It's very easy. It costs you nothing. It doesn't take any time to do it, and if you get in the habit of doing it every time you pull into a parking spot, it'll save you a lot in the long run. It'll tell you a lot. So that's the biggest things as far as you driving and stuff, is just pay attention to the car. The warning lights on the dashboard. If you get a warning light on the dashboard, you need to pull over and shut the car off and figure out what's going on. Now, if you are familiar enough with your car and the thing pops up and says your washer fluid is low, well then you know you don't need to pull over and figure that out, because you just need to get some washer fluid, because it's not going to hurt anything. But if it says low oil pressure and you keep driving, you will blow the car up. So pay attention to what the car is telling you, and those warning lights are not, hey, keep driving till this weekend and then call your parents. No, you need to figure out why it's on. It's there for a reason. So that's pretty much it for the basics of that. What we'll talk about next is going to be how to change a flat tire. So we will get set up for that, and we'll be right back. Alright, so part 2 of this was supposed to be changing a flat tire, but we discovered, keeping in mind that we have not had this car for very long, but we went back here to open this all up. Had to wait for it to do it by itself. So we went back here where the tire iron's supposed to be, and there is no tire iron, and the socket is missing to let the tire down, the spare tire. This is where you let the spare tire down on these Toyotas. Now the jack is here. It's in a box behind this piece. You got to pull it out of there to get to it. So I did check that. So I'm gonna have to get a tire iron to go back in here and the proper socket. But unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do this properly, so we'll have to visit that at a later date. My daughter and I will have to visit this part at a later date. But basically, if you look in your book, it will tell you where your tools are stored. And since you're watching this video, I can tell you, you need to go look and see if your shit's actually in there, because it might not be. It's not on this car, and that is unfortunate, because you know, if we needed it today, we would be in trouble. I would have to bring other tools and another jack. So we won't be doing that part. So next we'll get set up and do the final part, which will be how to use jumper cables and or a jumper box. So we'll be back for that. All right, so now we are going to do jumper cable and jump box use. So I'm going to hand this to you. So the first thing we'll do is, if you have one of these jump boxes, it's basically a lithium-ion battery to jump your car off with. Now, all of these are a little different. This happens to be one of the simplest ones you can buy, which is why I got it. You've basically got this battery, and there's a plug in the side of it that your clamps plug into, like so. And then you've got red and black. They made it easy for you. And on the red, there's a positive sign. And on the black one, there's a negative sign. Pay attention when you're doing this and make sure that somebody hasn't replaced one of your battery cables with the wrong color. Make sure you put them on the right place. So if you look on the battery, you will find it is marked. If you look, go around the other side here. If you look right here where my finger's pointing, you will see the positive mark. And you will also see it on this cover that's red and was over the positive cable. That way, you want to double check. You want to make sure you hook the right one to the right place. Always hook your positive up first. So you put the clamp on there and then hook your negative up. Now on this jump box, right now it's ready to jump. You could go in there, crank the car up, and you'd be jumped off. Some jump boxes have a button on this adapter that right here that you have to push to get it to work. So whichever kind you have, familiarize yourself with it. And most of them have the procedure for using it written on the back of it. And right here on the adapter, the back of the adapter, here and here. So know what you're doing when you're using this, and don't hook it up backwards.
There's a light that says correct too.
And there you go. Got a little green light telling you you're correctly hooked up. So once you get your car running, then you can take this off. Take your negative off first, then take your positive off. It's that simple. These are excellent things. They work great, and I highly suggest that you have one in your vehicle. But if you don't, there's the old alternative, which is a set of jumper cables. Now, even if you have one of these in your vehicle, my suggestion is to also have jumper cables. And the reason why is because sometimes if your battery is so dead, the way these jump boxes work is they have to sense a certain amount of voltage from the battery. Now, most batteries are not so dead that it won't sense it and go ahead and crank it. But if your battery is really, really dead, this may not work. So then you have your jumper cables. Now, I just got this brand new set of jumper cables right here for my daughter. You'll see they're O gauge and they're thick. Don't buy the little cheap, see how thick these cables are? That's what you want. Don't buy the little cheap thin cables, because they don't work good. They get hot, they melt, they catch on fire, they cause problems. Buy, if you're gonna have jumper cables, and I suggest you have some, because even if you don't know or you don't remember a thing about this video, and you're in a parking lot somewhere with a dead battery and your hood up, and somebody comes up and says, hey, you need a jump, and you say, yeah, well, it's a whole lot easier to get a jump if you have the cables. Because they may be the nicest people in the world, but a lot of people don't carry jumper cables. So They could jump you off, your friend could jump you off, but nobody has a set of cables. But if you have some cables, then you can jump yourself off. Now, these are 20-foot cables in this little bag. So if I pull them out and actually hook them up on the car, we'll never get them back in the bag. Anybody who's ever unreeled 20 foot of O-gauge cable will tell you, you will never get those back in the bag. So the first time you use them, you're going to have to roll them up, and the bag is trash. So we're not going to do that because we want to keep them nice in the bag, but I will show you right here how to do this. So, and in addition, it's also in your book. So I just looked this up, and let's see if I can remember the correct page for this. If you look in your book, there is a whole section on if your vehicle battery is discharged, and it shows you where to hook everything up and what order to hook it up in. But since that's teeny tiny, I'll draw it on the whiteboard real quick. So here is your dead car. And here is the car you're going to jump off from. And your dead car has a battery, and the car you're going to jump off from has a battery. And each battery has a positive post, and each battery has a negative post. Plus and minus, positive and negative. I can't find my black marker right now, so we're going to substitute blue for black. Step one is your positive cable. So you want to take your red cable of your jumper cables, and you're going to hook it to the positive terminal on your battery, and you're going to hook it to the positive terminal on the car that you're going to jump from. Second step is your negative cable. You're going to hook the negative cable to the negative terminal on the car you're jumping from here. This is the dead car. This is the good one. So you're going to hook that clamp on this negative terminal, and you're going to bring the cable over here, but you don't necessarily hook it on the negative terminal of the battery. So when you hook this last connection up, there's going to be a little spark jump, just like you saw when you might have noticed when I was taking the jump box loose. And it's nothing to be scared of, but if your battery is really dead, as batteries charge, they off gas hydrogen, which is a flammable gas. You don't want to necessarily make a spark right on top of a battery if it's off gassing hydrogen, because the battery could blow up. Not a good thing. So your negative cable, when you bring it back over to your dead vehicle, you're going to want to hook it to something metal on the vehicle. And if you look in your book, it will actually tell you where a good place to hook it is. On this particular vehicle, it tells you to hook it. There's a tab right there, and I'm not sure if you can see it, that it tells you to clamp that on. Now, theoretically, you can hook it to anything metal in this car. So what I would hook it to, and what I have hooked it to, and when I've jumped this car off, is this bolt right here that's in the body. Again, all it has to do, it's got to be metal and part of the car. Now, there's some things that are metal that you can't hook to. Like, for instance, this MAF sensor right here. You don't want to hook to that. It's got to be something solid that is hooked between two pieces of rubber, so it's not a good ground. You got to have a ground. Now, with older cars, it was a lot easier because everything you see on an older car would be made out of metal. But now everything is plastic, so it's a little bit more difficult to find a place to hook your negative cable. If you absolutely can't find a place to hook the negative cable, or if the battery's super dead and you can't get it to start taking a charge and turning over, you can hook it to the negative battery terminal, but you're taking a risk there. You're better off to hook it to some metal under here. Once you get the cables hooked up, another place you can hook it is right here. It's not the best place, but once you get the cables hooked up and you jump in there and try to crank the car, chances are it's going to turn over very slow, if at all, and not crank up. You may have to wait a few minutes for the battery to get a little bit of charge in it. It can sometimes help for the person who owns the second car that's jumping you to rev their engine a little bit to help their alternator push out more current to your vehicle to help get your battery charged up. Once you get your car cranked up and running, you want to take the cables back off in the same way. You want to take that negative cable off first from wherever you've got it clamped on metal under here. Take it off the other battery, then take your positive cable off. When you're doing this, you need to be careful not to touch the cables on metal and stuff under here when you're hooking them up. You don't want to touch the positive cables on metal. So, for instance, if you were to hook the clamp on this positive battery terminal, right? If you hook it straight up and down, then you're great. But if you went sideways, and one second, let me grab, I got another clamp. I got a clamp meter over here that we can use to demonstrate. Okay, this is a tester that has nothing to do with jumping the car off, but we're just going to use the end of the cable as an example. So if you take this red positive cable and hook it like that, you're great. You're not touching any metal, right? But if you hook it here and this falls down and touches this metal bracket right here, metal hold down bracket for the battery, that's going to be a short. And that makes a welder basically, and you will burn your car down. So don't touch the positive on any metal on the car. All the metal on the car is ground. That's the negative side. So if you touch this to this or anything else metal on here, you're going to create a direct short and cause you a lot of problems. You want to be very careful and not do that. So once you get your car running, then you can disconnect the cables and everything. Now, with the older cars, it was a lot easier to figure out why a battery went dead, because there wasn't that much stuff and nothing was automatic. If you wanted your lights on, you had to turn them on, and if you wanted them off, you had to turn them off. And most of the time a dead battery would be somebody left their lights on. So you would already know what killed the battery. These newer cars is a whole different ball game. Everything's automatic. In a lot of cases you don't have a choice. So I will tell you that this car is a 2018 Highlander, and 2017 through 2019 Highlanders, including this one, are known internet wide for being very hard on batteries and eating batteries. In a normal car, a battery will generally last 3 to 5 years. If you get 3 years out of a battery in this car, you're lucky as hell.
I've been stuck in a parking lot 3 times.
It eats batteries like crazy. And it's got to do with the start-stop system, and also with a charging profile that Toyota Toyota basically pulled a little thing trying to squeeze out every little bit of fuel mileage they could get, so that the alternator on this vehicle does not charge when you're accelerating. In a normal car, that's when the battery gets charged the most, because that's when the alternator is spinning the fastest. But we're not going to go real deep into all that. The point I'm trying to get across is, once you jump the car off, you need to see if your alternator's charging. You need to, most cars have a volt gauge or some way, you know, even an idiot light that will tell you, know, that says, hey, you got a charging problem. So you need to make sure it's charging, and then you may need to get your battery tested. Most auto parts stores will test your battery for you, and they do it free because they want you to buy a battery. They will also install a battery for you for free because they want you to buy the battery. But be aware that the guy at the auto parts store might not know any more than you do about what he's doing, other than somebody showed him hook these 2 clamps up and read the meter. So beware who you're having work on or look at your car, because if they work at an auto parts store, they probably don't know a whole lot, unless it's some old guy that retired from being a mechanic and is just working at the auto parts store to get by. Then he might be okay. But that's basically it. Sadly, we couldn't do the flat tire, but it's really not that hard, and the entire procedure is in fact in your book in your car. So if you need to change your tire, you can get your book out and it will tell you how to do it. I will tell you that if you have a flat tire, do not keep driving on it, because you will go from a tire that you might have been able to repair to a tire that you have to replace real quick by driving on a tire that's flat. You know, if you're stuck in the middle of the interstate, then yes, you need to get off to the side of the road. But once you're off to the side of the road, no, you don't need to try to drive to the next exit on a flat tire, because you're going to destroy the tire, you're probably going to destroy the rim, and that's going to cost you a lot of money, and it's just not a good thing. Get off the side of the road far as you can and change your tire. Put your car in park, put the parking brake on, put out some triangles, warning triangles if you have them. Whatever you need to do. Hopefully, if you live in the city, 9 times out of 10, within about 10 minutes, a cop's going to come by and turn his lights on and help you out. If you live in a bigger city, they'll have the little trucks that come around and help people out when they're broke down on the side of the road. If you're on the interstate. Now, if you're in town on city streets, yeah, nobody's coming to help you. So you got to be able to do it yourself. The point is, get off of this road, get to a safe place, but don't keep driving on a flat tire. You'll destroy it. And your spare is not your spare is a temporary tire. It's not well, I'll put my spare on and keep driving for another 6 months. You're going to have to get your tire fixed or replaced. So call your mom and dad, find out what needs to be done to get it replaced. Like I said, this wasn't, you know, you're not going to be if you haven't turned wrenches before now, you know, yeah, it would be, you could eventually be a mechanic, but it's not, you know, if I have a medical emergency, I don't call a mechanic, and if you have a mechanical emergency, you don't call a doctor. So everybody has their place. That's about it. So appreciate y'all watching. Hopefully this gave you an idea. Hopefully you get out there to your vehicle, check it out, get familiar with it more so than you are now. Read the book that comes with it. You'd be surprised how many things you might learn that your car has that you never knew it had because you never looked at it any closer than jumping in the driver's seat. Cars have all kinds of features that you might like, but you just have no idea they're there, especially these newer cars. So give the book a look and familiarize yourself with the car. Look under the hood, see what it looks like, know where to check your oil, know where to put the washer fluid in, all that kind of stuff, because you're off at school for a year and the light for the washer fluid comes on. You can either keep looking at the light and not have washers, or you can go down to the Walmart and spend 99 cents on a jug of washer fluid and take care of the problem. So appreciate y'all watching and supporting the channel, and we will see you in the next video. Y'all have a good one.